Hey everyone, welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a project called Gaseous Server. Know what you're thinking. No, it's not about helping indigestion. You guys are really going to dig this. There's not too many times I actually get to mix my interest of open source software with gaming, but in this instance I do. This is really awesome. This is a server that helps you catalog all of your ROMs, any of your emulated games that you have obtained legally. So not only does it help you categorize them and give them to you in this pretty format, but it also allows you to play them. I'm showing you the GitHub page, but I have one that's already spun up and I want to show you that real quick. So these are some of the games that I have thrown onto my server, and I'll show you different ways to get this information and to get it so that it's categorizing it for you here in a minute. But I really want to just jump in here and let me show you this Mortal Kombat 2. I load this up here and it has a trailer that it's going to play for me. It also gives me the option of downloading them and a whole bunch of information about the game, cover art, description, which is kind of cool, and tracks playtime. That's neat. But if I want to play it, all I have to do is click launch, and then we'll hit start game, and there you go. I am ready to start playing some Mortal Kombat. So I think that's freaking cool. Also, it does support game pads. So if you have I have an Xbox gamepad that I can plug straight into my computer, that works perfectly. So I'm going to jump out of here. To get games on here, you do have to do a couple of things, and I want to show you what those couple of things are so you are able to get yours up and going. So before we jump into the installation and the configuration of Gaseous, I am going to show you around a little bit of the platform, how you just generally use it, and then we'll get into the more detailed and technical things in just a second. All right, so if you do add ROMs, and it's very easy to do it, you have two different ways to do it. You can either upload it by using this little upload button at the top here, or you can add them into an import folder that Gaseous has access to, and that's more done on the server side. Very easy to do either way. If you do decide to upload it, you just click on the upload button and drag your ROMs in here. It supports 7-zip, regular zip, or you can just uncompress the ROM and drag and drop it in there. It will attempt to automatically recognize the platform that you're using, but if you want to give it a little bit of a hint as far as what it's going to be working with, it will save it some time on looking things up. Next up, we have collections. I'm not going to dive into that too deep. It's just basically a way for you to group a lot of your ROMs together. What I do want to concentrate on is the settings part of this. So if you are doing any sort of maintenance, so you can either let these happen automatically, or you can also do it manually, which it'll show you how to do that here. And next up, we just have some general information about our library. And if we go down to settings, these are the tasks that are going to be performed and how often they are performed. So if you want to, you can customize that so they're run more frequently or not as. Users is where you'll add other user accounts. So you will be able to sign into this with a username and password, and you can have other people be able to sign in as well. Totally optional and up to you. So they do say that while you can do this and you can add multiple users and everything and allow people to register, they've done their best with security, but it's kind of at your own risk if you decide to make this internet facing, which we're going to. And I'll show you a couple other things that we can do to make it more secure if you want. All right, so now we have our platform mapping, and this is basically what tells Gaseous what kind of files extensions belong to what platform. So if you wanted to customize that, we can jump in. Let's do Amiga. Let's see, Amiga right here. So here we can add or remove file extensions, ones that it would support, and then we have our collections and our emulator, as well as, do we want to allow this to be emulated? And we can configure this as well. Looks like, let's see, more information. Yeah, about JS. That's cool. And then you have your firmware, which we are not going to touch really that. I'm going to leave kind of all that alone. It is changeable if you decided you wanted to. but I don't know too much about the firmware for those platforms, so I'm not going to play with it. Speaking of firmware, we do have the firmware listed here, both unavailable and available. Again, I'm not really positive on if there's anything you really need to do here. I have been able to successfully play games and not even visit this section too much at all. We have logs up next, so if you are having problems, you can easily search through, your critical logs here. And then lastly, we have the about section. This describes the where the project is being hosted on GitHub, as well as any of the things that they are using in this project that are being developed by other parties. All right, we can go up to our profile, and this will allow us to customize a little bit about our user. So if you do have a particular page mode you want to be infinite scrolling or paged, you can change your avatar, and then you can change your account. Nothing too crazy there, but all stuff that is possible. Let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set it up both on your local environment, and if you wanted to host this yourself. I'm going to show you both options. I'm going to show you how to get all the API stuff set up, as well as the indexers, which we really didn't cover too much on this demonstration, but we are going to cover in more in depth in just a second. So one more thing that I want to show you before I jump over to the install. If for some reason it's not picking up your game, it's not like picking up the name or telling you what platform it is, you can do it manually. And I'll show you how to do that really quickly. If you click on unknown title, and say I have a game that I uploaded called 3D Baseball. So if I click on the little eye right over here, let me zoom in. If you click on that little eye, you'll get a little pop-up. If you click on the name of the file, it'll basically just allow you to download it again, which you probably don't want. You probably already have it. So if we click on the eye, and then let's zoom in, I'll show you this one. So it's telling you that it's an unknown platform. It's not really picking up much of information about it other than maybe the name. So let's do this. If we go to title match, and it'll allow you to select your platform. In this instance, let's just say PlayStation. And we can select PlayStation 1. And then where it says game, let's just type in 3D Baseball. And if it is in the library, it'll present it to you here. It may even show you a picture. There we go. And we click on that, and then we hit save match. Then if we zoom out and we come back to our main screen, we should see 3D Baseball. We should be able to click on it and actually go ahead and start launching it and playing it if it has a supported emulator. If it's supported by, I think it's Emulator.js. I will see you over on the installation side in just a second. All right, well, starting out, we have our GitHub page, and the link would be down below at the bottom, as well as you can see it right here. This is the Gaseous project and Gaseous Server. If we scroll down past all the cool, pretty little screenshots, we get to the installation, and it has a link to the installation right here, as well as any sort of requirements that you are going to need. And the Internet Game Database API key is something that we're going to set up on this video. In fact, let's go ahead and do that now. So let's click on this link, and it gives you your instructions at the top. It says that you are going to need to sign up for a free Twitch account, ensure that you have MFA enabled, and then register our application through the developer portal. All of this is very easy to do. It is not difficult at all. Let's go over to our Twitch account, and let's go ahead and set up one. So I'm going to hit login with Twitch, and we don't have one, so I'm going to sign up. And so for my username, I'm just going to go ahead and pick Ben at SYNACK time. And my password, I'm going to generate a password. I'm going to choose my birth date. And instead of providing it a phone number, I'm going to hit use email instead. And I'm just going to do Ben at synack.com. And I'm going to sign up. All right, it's going to email me a code in order for me to complete my registration. And for my code, me 747746. All right, so next up, it's going to ask us to authorize Twitch developer access to our account. I'm going to hit authorize. And now we're in here, but we can't proceed until we set up MFA. If you try, it's just going to fail. let's do this. I'm going to hit my account settings. I'm going to go to security and privacy. I'm going to set up two-factor authentication, enable. And for this, it will need a phone number. So enter your phone number that has text capabilities. All right, and so it's saying that this phone number is being used to enable 2FA for Twitch. You can set up an authenticator app to be your primary, which I highly suggest that you do. Not really a big fan of using the phone number for your MFA. So just find your favorite authenticator app. I'm going to use mine. And done. All right, now that we have set that up, we can jump back to our developer account. All right, so we're going to sign back in just because we have added MFA, and we're going to punch our password in here. And now I'm going to remember this device. I'm going to put in my MFA code and submit. And authorize. Just for funsies, let's authorize it again. Now what's up is we need to go to our register application. We're going to need to give it a unique name. So for this one, I'm just going to call this SYNHOW 555. And for the URL, it is not important that this actually goes anywhere or is valid. It just needs to be unique. So for mine, I'm just going to put HTTPS and www.synhow.com. For your category, let's just choose other. You can choose pretty much whatever you want. And we are going to do confidential. And then we're going to prove that we are not a robot by selecting a couple of traffic lights and create. All right, so next up, let's click on manage. And you'll see at the very bottom here, we have our client ID, which we're going to need. So go ahead and copy that into a safe space. And now we have our secret key that we need to generate. So yeah, we do need to generate a new one. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this one as well. And if you need to regenerate it, you can obviously, but the requirement for Twitch is pretty much done. So let's jump back to our GitHub page. So we don't need to worry about this requirement because we're already going to have Docker do this for us. The main thing that we needed to do, make sure we had set up correctly, was this internet game database. The next thing that we're going to have to look at is importing signatures, and that will have to be done in a semi-technical fashion. It's not something that you can just throw onto the server. If we jump into this article, this will tell us how to download them and where to put them. And I'm going to do my best also to show you how to find those within your Docker server. But this basically just makes it a lot easier and a lot more accurate for the server to find the game when you upload it, so that you don't have to manually map it. It'll load all this entire database of games onto your server. Just going to make your life a little easier. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do before we really worry about the signatures is get our containers spun up. If you click on the installation link here, the very first one that you're going to run across is the Docker Compose that we're going to use. So the next one that you have down here is if you are using Unraid, but we are not going to be doing that. And lastly, we have our source. If you wanted to build this without Docker, here are the installation instructions for that. Again, not something that we're going to be doing. We're going to be using the one at the very tip top of this page. Let's go ahead and copy this, and then let's get our container spun up. And I'm going to go through this entire compose file before we actually deploy it. Let's go to our Portainer and go to stacks. Let's add a new one. Let's just call it gaseous. And we're going to paste. All right, so let's scroll up a little bit and let's zoom in so you can see. All right, so first up, we have our container name, which is going to be gaseous-server. The image that we're going to be using is here. Our restart policy is unless stopped, which means if our server reboots, our containers will fire up automatically unless they were stopped before. Then we have our network, which is going to be called gaseous. It's depends basically means that this container depends on the database running. If the database isn't running, then this one is not going to either. Next up, we have our ports, and this is the part where you determine, do I just want to run this locally on my own network, or do I want to allow this to be internet facing? For us, we're going to allow it to be internet facing just for funsies. Now we proceed on to the volumes, where this is establishing a volume called GS, and that is where it's going to host all of our server files, and that includes ROMs, that includes those signatures and everything. And next up, we have our time zone. Now, this is the time zone that you will find, and like it's kind of like in PHP form. If you've ever worked with that before, in order to find that time zone that you want to use for your own, just do a search for PHP time zone, and we'll just do a list of supported time zones. You'll find yours, and say I'm on the East Coast. Let's find America and New York. And then we jump back to our installation, and we are going to just paste over that. So very easy to find that. Next up, we have our DB host, and that is going to be for our database. It's just called GSDB. Same thing right down here. If you do change this one, you'll most likely have to change this one as well, and probably this one too. But we're not going to. We're going to leave it alone. The database username is root. That's fine. The password is gaseous. If you want to change it to something else, you are welcome to, or if you just want to add a little bit extra security by putting on that really complicated number, that's fine. Obviously, you really shouldn't have too many people trying to access your database directly anyway, but we'll just change it here just so I can show you later on where you also have to update it. And now we have our client ID, and that is the ID that we got from our Twitch developer application. We're going to paste that in here. And now we have our secret, and we're going to paste that here. That'll allow it to look up games for us. Cool. All right, moving on. We have our database is going to be using MariaDB, same restart policy, same network, same information as far as the volumes, except this one's just going to be called GSDB, and that's going to host our database. And now coming down to our root password, since we did change that, we're going to have to update that a little bit. I believe we're not going to have to really bring up the root one so much as we are going to be. So right here, this is kind of a little bit misleading. I'm not sure if it's asking me for the root password, because up here at the top, it's saying that it's going to be using the DB user of root, but then it also has down here DB username of Gaseous. So I don't know. I'm going to be on the safe side. I'm just going to change it here, and I'm going to change it here, and just make sure those passwords match. Again, no one should be having direct access to your database anyway, and there's not going to be top secret information in there. All right, so after we get done establishing the information, next up we have our networks, and this is just the creation of the networks that we have specified up here at the top. Same thing with the volume. So we have to create those volumes. Otherwise, if you try to remove that and you try to create the container, it's going to be like, hey, where's the GS volume? It's not going to find it unless you create it. All right, let's zoom out and let's hit deploy on our container. And here in a second, we should have all of our stuff downloaded and setting up. And I'll show you a little bit of information that was really helpful for me the first time I set it up, as far as tracking the progress of the installation. All right, if all has went well, we should have that little green box for a second, and we can always go into our gaseous container and see our database is running and our gaseous server is starting. If we click on this little logs button down here, right there, we'll be able to see all the things that are happening with our gaseous server. And right now it is waiting for the database. And here in a second, you're going to see the creation of all of our database schema, as well as any information it needs to put into that database. And you can also see right here, it's reaching out to our API. It's getting that video game database information and pulling it into our server. So while that's doing that, let's go ahead and set up ourselves a subdomain so that we can use Nginx Proxy Manager to route all of our traffic from that subdomain into our gaseous server. If you're skipping that step, Something to keep in mind is that while it's doing all of that database creation and modification, you're not going to be able to access the web UI. So give it about 10 minutes or so, and then you'll be fine. Or just keep watching the video, and by the time we get to it, it should be done. All right. All right, so let's jump over to our Namecheap, and we're going to go ahead and sign in. Okay, so for this next step, let's go ahead and create ourselves a subdomain. If you're not using Namecheap and you're using something else, the only thing that you really need to know is that we're going to create a new A record. So however you go about it, this is the way we're going to do it. But if you are using something else, then it should be pretty straightforward. Creating A names should be pretty easy. We're just going to call ours games, and then I'm going to give it an external IP address of my server, and I'm going to save these changes. All right, now that we have saved those changes, we will need to configure our Nginx Proxy Manager, and we're going to start that back at our Portainer, and we're going to go into Nginx app here. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. We're going to drop down this network. And you see where it says gaseous right there. We're going to go ahead and join that network. So we're just going to hit the join network here at the very bottom right. I'm going to move back, and we should be joined, to that network. We're getting an IP address and everything. Great. All right, let's head over to our Nginx Proxy Manager UI, and let's go to proxy hosts, and let's make a new one. So we're going to be calling ours the games.synhow.com, and we need a scheme to point it to, as well as a host name and a forwarding port. I'm going to show you how to get all of those. Easy peasy. Let's go back to Portainer. Let's go to our containers, and the place that we want to forward traffic to, we just want to make sure it says it's this Gaseous-server right here. We don't use the IP address because sometimes that can change, but this little name is a lot easier to keep up with. I'm going to paste that in there. We're using, let's see what we need. We need the forwarding port. And in case you don't remember what that was, if we jump back to the GitHub, and let's take a look right here. It's asking for this port on the right. That's the port that the container is expecting to hear traffic from. The one on the left is the one that you would be internet facing or private facing if you decide not to comment this out. Would be the 5193. So if you are running this locally, the 5198, sorry, not 3. The 5198 is the port that you want to access. So this is port 80. So let's jump back to our Nginx Proxy Manager. Let's zoom in. And I happen to know that port 80 is typically HTTP, which is pretty much typical for most of these containers because they are usually not trying to put a security SSL on it. They kind of let you do that. Sometimes it's manual, sometimes it's through Nginx Proxy Manager. All right, so let's do comment exploits, blocking those, WebSocket support, and let's hit save. The next thing that we want to do is add a security certificate to this so that nobody can just eavesdrop on our traffic, though not super important, still nice. We're going to hit edit over here. We're going to go to SSL. We're going to drop this down, and we're going to request a new certificate. I'm going to force SSL, and I'm going to agree to the terms of service. Hit info. All right. Hit save. All right, so now that is done, let's see if our server is up and running. We're going to click on this icon. Here we go. Okay, if you do get this message, so the first time that you're going to your page and it's not asking you to sign up, it's asking you to sign in, and no matter what you put in there is invalid, there is a fix for that. If you go up to the very top and where it says login, you see at the top here, change that from login HTML to first.html. And in theory, that should bring you up to this screen. So you should see the getting started. So let's hit get started. And now it's going to ask us for our username and password. So for this one, I'm just going to use ben@synhow.com. And my password should be a certain number of characters. Paste that in and hit create account. Okay, now we are in. Now we can start adding our ROMs. So if you go under settings, you'll see that a bunch of these have not run yet. That is okay. You don't have any sort of signatures in your database. Nothing's really configured. So the signature part is optional. However, you're going to get better results if you go through those extra steps. The problem with those extra steps is it's a little bit technical and it's going to require you to put files into your Docker volume. But I'm going to walk you through it. Hopefully you will be able to follow along. I think you will. I don't think you're going to have a problem. All right, let's find our GitHub page and let's go to the signatures down here. So there's a couple of different signatures that you can import. There's the 2sec, and there's MAME and Arcade and MAME mess. And then there's no intro. I didn't really do the no intro one or the read dump, but I did do 2sec or 2sec, whatever it's called, and MAME. Those were actually pretty easy to grab. So what you need to do is it tells you here, you'll have to download the file, the most recent one, preferably extract the archive and copy DAT files to this specific folder. All right, so I'm going to show you the easiest way that I did this. If we go to this website, it'll be one of the easiest things for you to find. We'll go to download. You can also, let's see here, this one's 2023. Let's see if there's any more recent ones. Yeah, so there's 2025. And we're going to download this one. This one has a little bit more information on it. Did this say 10 terabytes? Let's see if it's actually 10 terabytes. No, it's not 10 terabytes. I don't know why it says size 10 TB. Huh. That'd be cool. But no, it's just going to give you your DAT files, which is really the only thing that you're going to need. Getting ROMs and where you to obtain them is 100% up to you, although Google is your friend, and I'm sure you'll be able to find whatever you want easily through that method. All right, so the easiest way that I figured out to go about doing this is to use either WinSCP or a program like this right here, this Tabby one, and that allows you to SFTP your data to your server. I'm going to show you how to do that with this program. WinSCP is pretty easy too. So let's click on this SFTP button at the top right here, and it's going to present me with my folder structure on my Linux host machine. So for this, I'm just going to use my temp directory. I'm just going to go under temp, and I'm going to create a directory. If you are working with just a regular user and not root, then I highly suggest that you just create something under your home directory, like home / your username / whatever. But for this, I'm just going to use the temp. You might be able to see how you still use temp too. I'm just going to call this 2sec. Great. All right, so once you have created that, I'm going to upload my files. So I'm just going to select my pack, and here in just a second, we'll have our zip file uploaded. And the reason I don't extract it and then upload it, because the DAT files are going to be several of them, and it might take a lot longer than just uploading the zip file and then extracting it on your Linux host. And through the wonders of technology, we have fast forwarded to the end of that upload. I'm going to close this part. I'm going to navigate over to my temp folder. And there is my zip file. So I'm just going to unzip this file. And if you don't have unzip installed, it's easy. We're just going to install it. This is just using app to automatically, install the zip, which I think is good. I'm sure you can also use like tar or something, but unzip is just as easy. Cool. All right, so let's find our DAT files. So I'm going to cd into the TOSEC folder, and let's see. Oh, there they are. All pretty and pretty like. All right, so what we need to do is we need to follow the instructions and make sure that we copy them into the correct folder. And I'm going to show you how to find that folder and where that exact path is using the information that we got from the Gaseous Server and from Portainer. All right, for this, it's saying that it needs it to be in the period gaseous /server /data /signatures TOSEC. So the easiest way to find out where to start, because it's not going to be in this little tilde slash that is basically referencing the home folder. What we need to do is we need to find out where the data is being stored for this Gaseous server. And I'll be able to do that pretty quickly and easily. All right, so if we scroll down, and you can also go to volumes too. But if you see the gaseous is just gaseous underscore GS, this is not the path that you're going to be looking for. This is the path in the container. So let's click on this volume and we'll see our mount path, and that's the path that we need. So check this out right here. It's /var lib docker volumes gaseous underscore db, or gaseous underscore gs underscore data. Lots of underscores. So let's see if we can find the folder that it wants. Let's go ahead and go into cd var lib docker volumes gaseous gs and /_ data. Let's just list the folders here. And so there's a folder called data and logs, as well as some config files. So let's make sure that we have the right one. Going back here, going under our signatures, it wants it to be under the data, signatures tosec or tusec, whatever. Then we go under data and look at that. Okay, so we see your signatures file right there. And there's your tosec. So now we have our empty folder, and that is the place where it wants all of those DAT files. So we left our DAT files under the temp folder, under temp /tusec/tusec/ whatever. I'm going to try to settle on a name. I'm going to call it tusec. All right, so I'm going to copy all of the DAT files from that folder into this one. So let's do a CP, and I'm going to specify where my files are currently being stored, which is /temp /tusec /tusec, then just asterisk to say, hey, I want to copy all of them. And then I wanted to copy it to, and let me drag this out because it's going to go on the next line if I don't. Let's make sure that my face is not in the way too. Yep. Are going to go into our var lib docker volumes gaseous / data /data signatures /tusec. All right, let's see if we can possibly get this on one line so you can see that. Okay, I just had to make it a little bit smaller. So if we zoom in, it's basically what it's doing is it's copying all the files from within this folder space to this folder right here, to this one right there. So it should copy all those .dat files. So we hit that. Okay, and now since we're still in that folder that it should be in, if we do an ls, we have a whole bunch of DAT files. Yay! And so the MAME is going to be the exact same way. Just need to get the files onto your server, extract it, and then copy it into the place that you want it to be. If you look under our signatures folder here, we have a MAME arcade and then a MAME mess. So you just need to make sure you get those DAT files in there. And if you have questions, you're always welcome to leave them down below. But in the before we continue on with the interface, just to show you a little bit about the main ones, if you go under here, it's going to be one file that you'll download, and it'll have both the arcade and the mess in that same file. You just need to make sure that this DAT file for arcade ends up in the arcade folder, and the same thing for mess. So if we click on this link, and this basically all the older ones at the top. So I'm going to click on this bottom button, and I want to click on the download right here. It's this very first one, because if you look at the columns, it just says DAT. So I'm going to download the DAT here. And once that finishes downloading, I'll show you what the file looks like inside of there. Give me a second. So this is what the file will look like, what's inside of the zip file. You'll have your DATs, and then you'll have your arcade and your mess. So when you copy this 7-zip file to your host machine and you extract it, Or you could just extract it on your machine here and just individually upload these two DAT files to the temp folder and then move them to where they want to go. And in fact, let's do that. All right, and so once I have them where I want them, let's make sure that we upload them. I'm going to use the same method as I did before using the FTP. You can also use WinSCP. And I am, let's see what folder I'm in. I'm still in my temp folder, so I'm going to back out and go up one so that I'm just in temp and not temp 2sec. And now I'm just going to upload those files. So let's go ahead and go to upload. And here's my two DAT files that I need. And those are going to upload. A little bit of movie magic. All right, so those files have finished uploading. And now if we do an ls-temp, which is going to basically just do a list of the files in our temp folder, we see that we have our main right there. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a copy. I'll do cp. Hopefully you should be able to see that. I'll make it a little bit bigger. cp/temp/ and then I'm going to do our main. And it's going to, I'm doing it using tab, by the way. So I'm not typing all that in and saving myself a little bit of typing, but it needs to know what letter. Basically, those files are very close together in files. So I have to tell it what the next one is. And then I'm just going to tab again, and that will fill in the rest of it for you. So you don't have to worry about the slashes, backslashes, and everything else. So I want to copy that file, and I want to copy it to my the folder that is specified under my GitHub. So we can see that here. Back up a little bit. It needs to go into that main arcade. I don't know, keep it arcade folder. So I'm going to do var lib docker volumes gaseous gs /_data /signatures /main, and it's going to be the arcade. Yep, so make sure we're copying our arcade folder into our arcade file into our arcade folder. All right, that went well. Now we need to do the same thing for our mess one. I'm going to do cp temp main, and I'm going to type m, let it fill the rest. Then var lib docker volumes gaseous /_data. I'm using tab a lot, by the way. And signatures and main m. Yeah, there we go. Mess. So let's take a look at that. If we cd into our main arcade folder, there's our DAT file. And if we do the same thing for our mess folder, same thing. We have our both of our DAT files. So this will essentially just make it a lot easier for it to read the signatures of your ROMs and determine, hey, is this a Nintendo ROM or is this a Sega Genesis one? All right, so let's do this. Let's jump back to our server. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see this without me having to zoom in so much. Next up, what we need to do is we need to make sure that it's going to import those signatures. And so we're going to start this import signature. It would run every 60 minutes if we just let it go, and we didn't do that, but I want to go ahead and be a little bit proactive. So I'm going to hit start. And now comes the fun part. Here in a second, and I'm just going to kind of refresh the page a little bit. It's going to start reading all of those signature files, and there is a lot of them. So we're talking probably well over 1 million, which is going to take a little bit of time, especially if you're not like on the stupid fastest server in the world. So now is the time for you to have a coffee break or a dinner break or go to bed and come back in the morning because it's literally going to take a while. So it's making pretty good progress here, but it is something that it does need to build up that database. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. After that, you should be able to add your ROMs much easier, and it'll be able to pick them up and you'll be able to immediately start playing them. Have a little bit of patience with this software when you are working with it. It's not immediate when you drag your game in there, especially while it's building this index. So you're going to have to let it finish this process where this start is back and it's back again, and then possibly run a couple of these other ones just manually, or just wait 24 hours and let it do its thing. After that, you should be able to start adding ROMs into it pretty quickly, and it should start categorizing them, reading them, and allowing you to play them. All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers it, honestly. Only thing I'm really not super familiar with is collections, but I was just excited to have some of the old games to play again. So that's kind of the games that I grew up with. If I'm going to date myself. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed this project. I definitely enjoyed making it, and I enjoyed playing like the old Sega Genesis version of Mortal Kombat. So if you have any questions or any comments, leave them down below. Otherwise, thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.